Alright, it is 6 o'clock. Where's my stream, Sony?
Oh, hold on, the music stopped.
It's
Oh,
starting now.
There you go. Ask and
Ask
you'll
it.
receive.
Ask and you shall receive, Jova.
Brilliant. We start with a Horizon.
It looks like
Final Fantasy VII.
No,
I
wait.
heard Final Fantasy VII sound effect.
Hold on.
Yeah, they
Let me
did. That
listen.
was the Final Fantasy VII sound effect. Yeah.
Well, damn, we were wrong.
Hold
Wait.
on to your butts.
It's. Wait, the rating's still pending, of course. It.
Oh, never mind.
It's Monster Hunter.
Wait.
Oh, I'm guessing they're presenting the Monster Hunter expansion they teased a couple months ago.
Well, dang, we've been had.
Well, Jova, just because we use it at the beginning, it doesn't mean that we're not using like at the end or something.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
not
those are
Square,
just a
it's
tease.
Capcom.
What a shock! A Monster Hunter product.
Keep in mind, with Monster Hunter actually had a collaboration with Final Fantasy XIV with the Behemoth.
Well, Monster Hunter World sold really well, didn't it?
Yeah.
It did. It actually was the biggest Capcom seller title in a while, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give Capcom this. They usually do right by Monster Hunter.
Again,
usually.
I just wish I myself could get in the franchise because I guess it's just not for me. But I really it's like a thing like I really respect it, but at the same time I just can't get into it myself.
Yeah, I mean,
And
yeah.
it's a weird thing because I played God Eater on the PS3 and I managed to do it fine. So the genre shouldn't be that hard to do it.
I mean, I guess maybe it's just not really your thing, you know, these sort of big
I suppose,
hunting bits.
Oh, anyway, welcome to the PlayStation State of Play 2nd Edition.
Yes, I'm not getting my hopes up too much, but I have heard from sources that this should be better than the first State of Play.
Well, so far,
This one wasn't even that bad, huh?
we're showing a game from a beloved franchise right off the bat, so it's already starting off really well.
It also, considering the vast majority of the comments or people, it also boils down to how much VR will be present into this.
That's true. See, the main issue with the first one, Shuri, was that it had bad pacing. It had some good stuff.
7.8 out of 10, too much VR.
That's true, yeah. And it didn't really have much stuff that was interesting to the general public. Yeah, how ironic.
Also, yeah, another thing that made Monster Hunter World more famous, it actually pumped up its story mode. It's not like the previous game did not have it, but it was very superficial. World actually bothered to make a more compelling one.
So, I'm guessing this is a DLC add-on to World?
Yeah, it's a DLC expansion.
There's Monster Hunter World 2.
As you see, Capcom, this is good DLC add-ons. I kid, though.
Oh.
Capcom have gotten, thankfully, a lot better with DLC than they were back in the Dark Ages.
What is that?
Oh, no. Who's
Oh,
that monster?
Isorathalos, maybe?
What, the early 2000s?
Whatever that
Velkhana.
means.
I think it's an Elder Dragon. The Monster Hunter lore has like a
Iceborne.
Monster Hunter World
deep thing
Iceborne.
about Elder Dragons being basically gods or something. I don't
Oh.
remember. Well,
You just got
Add the
Indiana
heads of the
Jones to
characters.
death,
oh.
but revived. Oh,
Yes,
of course,
because you
by
don't
the
remember
cat.
Monster Hunter as kitten companions, but we can help you. The felines.
6th of September, was it? The 9th
Yeah.
of June.
Yeah, it's using the American format for the date.
Yep, September 6th.
There you go,
Yeah,
September
September
6th.
6th.
September 6th, yeah.
Okay, that was a good
Hello,
start.
narrator.
Keeping it short and sweet.
Hello,
The new
Red.
look
You know, it's kind of a missed opportunity. We could have used Kara from Detroit as the narrator for these.
Well,
Check out Capcom's official
Quantum
stream
Stream-
right
Quantum
after
Stream
this
doesn't really
broadcast to find
go-
out more about the
does it?
ISO
I don't
setting,
know.
new story, and new monsters
Oh.
that await.
Alright, so what's next?
Okay, there's
Minecraft?
plenty more to get to. This next
No,
game is
it's a
frantic
Minecraft
take
clone.
on dungeon crawling. Let's take a look.
Meh.
looks
Alright,
like-
let's
why
have a
does it-
look.
Why does it look? It looks like a mix between Minecraft and Fruit Ninja.
Hey, wasn't there like a game called 3D Battle Heroes or something like these?
Pretty Dark Game Heroes, yes.
It looks... eh.
This,
I guess it's an indie.
Okay,
well,
okay,
Pretty
okay.
Dark Game, Pretty Dark Game Heroes was a game that was basically a Zelda homage. Zelda 1 homage
This is the
specifically.
European stream.
This, from what I'm seeing here, just feels very Minecraft, yes.
This is the European stream. Should it be called Sofa Co-op?
Is it really that different?
Yes.
No, I mean...
Oh, so
the
yeah, it's an
screen's
indie
really
game
Oh,
because it also has
Psychonauts!
indie
Shovel
games,
Knight, yeah. Okay.
Shovel Knight, was Shovel Knight released on PlayStation?
Yes.
Yes, it
Hashtag-
even
Shovel Knight
it
is on
e-
everything.
It even has against the boss battle against Kratos. So
Well, Nintendo always shows off indies in their directs as well.
I mean,
Well, they even have their own
Sometimes,
direct
yes.
for them.
I mean, it looks fine. Just
Riverbond.
I guess it
Coming
depends
to
on the
PS4 this summer.
Riverbond heads to PlayStation Store this summer.
Coco
Interesting name for a
Coco
development.
Cucumber.
too.
Oh,
Now let's
What's
check out
this?
a new project from PlayStation's
oh,
Worldwide
a new.
Studios.
Okay, I think we're about to see that new IP.
What's this?
Sony Interactive Entertainment presents.
Is
No,
it a
that's
cinematic
gameplay.
experience?
Wait. Is it a new
Mario
Uncharted
It's not
game?
okay.
Not actual
But it-
gameplay.
Oh,
It said
no, it
Well-
can't be a
well, it
new
is-
Uncharted game.
Well, they
Maybe
didn't
it's
say-
a SWAT game.
Well, Joe, but they didn't say it was a new IP. They just said a new game.
Well, they said a new project.
Didn't
Doesn't
Sony
necessarily
add
mean
a
the new
franchise, a tactical
Well, that's
shooter
what I was
called,
saying,
like
Glibs.
Stockholm
Maybe-
or something?
It's snack free. Come on.
No, the humans are too
No,
realistic.
this looks too good. Come on.
Oh, camouflage?
Well, remember, it's not actual gameplay.
Wait.
Oh, no, is it
What's
Predator?
this?
Oh my god, a
Predator?
Predator Hunting Grounds game?
A Predator game. That's
The
unusual.
Yeah.
hunt begins 2020.
Huh.
From Fox. Wait,
Huh.
should that be Disney now?
Oh, that
Wait,
wasn't
that's
expected.
it?
Predator Hunting Grounds is an online.
mean, nice,
asymmetrical
but
multiplayer
it's just a
shooter that pits the
teaser.
fire team against
20th century
stealth
Oh, so we have a
Fox.
Predator Battle Royale
Iconic
now?
is handling
Oh yeah,
Well,
development
Disney's
it's a-
Predator
well,
Hunting Grounds.
Maybe it's
I
early in
mean-
development.
next year.
With the tactics of a Predatory
PlayStation
kinda
One
makes
is not
sense,
yet.
I suppose.
So do you play as the...
Oh, medieval.
Next,
There he is.
the
Finally, the
Hey.
reason we all came here today.
We've got 3 more apparently after, according to the graphic.
I never played medieval, so this is okay.
Wow.
Me neither, actually.
Well, actually, Mark, in case you're not familiar with it, Medieval 2 actually holds the distinction of being the first game that Sony Portugal dubbed.
Oh, that's interesting.
So-
Well,
didn't they-
by the way, Zarok actually doesn't look moist in this remake,
Yeah,
so
for the-
proof for
I
that.
gotta ask you something.
What?
For the design of the main character, the main player
Sir Daniel
character in this game,
Fortescue, yeah?
didn't they borrow a few bits from the Japanese box art of it or something?
I don't remember that. What I know is that the voice actor for Dan
Oh yeah,
actually
this
does,
looks pretty damn good. Yeah.
does his impression by having a bucket on top of his head.
Yeah. This seems pretty much on point. It feels a lot like what Medieval would have been like if it was made today. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it
looking
has
good.
similar not aesthetics, but an idea, conceptual design similar to the Crash Insane trilogy or the Spyro Ignited one, so it kind of makes sense.
It has a very specific look that it's cartoony but not too cartoony. Yeah, it pretty seems like it's really doing well with the Tim Burton-esque aesthetic.
Yeah.
So
And the
it's
score
fine.
seems to be done orchestrally, keeping the original one, which was very Danny Elfman, as Kadikarus pointed out. Coming October 25th. I was close to the Halloween release date. God damn it.
Well, you can't
They
always
probably
just-
wanted
well,
to
it's
have
close.
it out in
Well,
time
it's
so that
close.
people could
Well,
play
it's
it
close.
on Halloween.
No,
I'm
I was
guessing.
calling out for the medieval the Halloween release date, but I
buy
was
it on
close
Halloween.
actually.
Very original new game that's
Well,
only
okay,
PS4.
Medieval so far has been
Also
the best
another
thing
brand
shown
new
today.
What's this one then? Skunk the game?
Maybe it's Tokyo Jungle too.
Maybe it's Wild. Where the hell is Wild?
Michel Ancel is too busy with Beyond Good and Evil 2.
I wonder if Wild is just going to become defunct at some point.
Like
Vaporware?
deep down.
Oh,
wait,
it's one of those
Wildlife
artsy-
Simulator.
So you
One,
play as
one
a...
of, the- one,
Oh,
one
you
of those
play as a
artsy
flying
fartsy
squirrel.
artsy games. Well,
You're
these are the
playing
crowd.
as
Oh, you play... So basically you play as Momo.
yeah, I was about to say that.
Pretty much.
A
A flying squirrel.
I can dig that because I like, for example, the game of Deadly Creatures for the Wii, which was entirely about that. So if they know how to do it properly, it can turn out to be an interesting thing, and it kind of gives me that vibe with this one.
I love how it goes, put up your
a
dukes with the
pirate
scorpion.
column?
I do like the way it's directed. Like it does a good job setting
It's
up the perspective.
Away, the survival series.
Away.
It has a good way. Oh no, spider.
Oh, goody.
Oh, so we've got Momo against Aragog.
Seriously,
please.
what was up with that
Who's
spider?
doing
That
it?
thing looked
Breaking
pretty
wall.
The
big.
mission's simple. Survive
Break
natural
the walls.
disasters.
It's supposed to
It's
look
an
scary.
interesting, it's an interesting take on the survival genre, though.
Days of Play.
We've got a first look at an upcoming limited edition PS4
Okay.
system. Let's take a look.
Eh?
It has a different color.
Probably the new PlayStation 4 Slim thingy.
Jesus, well, it's so
Didn't
chromatic.
we already have a PS4 Slim?
No,
No,
we
that
don't.
was,
We,
that
we
was
have
the Pro.
we have the normal one when we have the Pro, but we don't have a slimmer version of the PS4
Oh,
yet.
it's
Days of
quite
play.
Vertical stands all
The
separately.
limited edition Days of Play PlayStation 4 in Steel Grey will be available for a limited time as part of Days of Play. The event kicks off in June.
And keep your wallets ready. We're watching you. All right.
We're almost out of time.
Question
but
mark.
before
My
we
favorite.
go,
Let's
One
see
more
if the
thing.
foreshadowing beginning was true or not.
Long-awaited game.
A long-awaited thing.
Whereas the
Well,
new
it
project.
is.
Oh,
It is,
snap.
yes.
It is.
Here we go. Hey, Arif. How you doing?
It's about time.
Oh, and that looks gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, you're gonna die later on.
Cloud kind of looks the same as in the original trailer, so I'm guessing the design was not changed much. But the Buster Sword looks like the one.
Actually, no, I can. No, actually, no, I
Actually,
can
no,
tell
he
that
looks better.
it looks the hair looks different here. If you'll notice. Yeah, the hair
Also-
looks closer. The hair looks closer to the original
Oh,
design.
and the Buster Sword is like the original. I got confused for a second.
Hey,
And
yeah.
But maybe
his
they'll
hair
probably-
looks more like actual hair in the trailer. It
Oh,
did
like,
look slightly cartoony.
And Cloud doesn't look like
Remind me,
he's.
this
and
is
Cloud-
gonna be episodic, right?
Apparently, well,
sorry,
maybe we're gonna
sorry,
say it at the end of
sorry.
this.
We don't, at this point, we don't know, Marco. They've waited so long restructuring the game, so at this point, maybe it's not even.
Hey,
Also, they
Sephiroth.
said that so long ago, we don't even know if that still holds up.
Anyway. So
the
anyway, from what I've seen, Cloud actually looks more proper.
More to
like-
come. Yeah, we're gonna say that at E3.
In June.
Yeah,
Of course,
My
we're gonna see that.
goodness.
Final Fantasy VII.
Well, at least don't have
remake
long to wait.
re-envisions one of the most beloved
Yeah,
games
notice
of
Teo
all
that the
time
hair.
for
Well,
the
if you go back to watch the
generation.
2015 trailer, Teo, you'll notice that Cloud's hair is more similar to his Advent Children hair, whereas in
That's a wrap
in
on
this
State of
new
Play.
redesign,
We've
it
got
seems
lots
more
more in store
closer
for
to the
you later
original
this year.
design.
Yeah. Anyway,
Like I said
anyway,
also
as I
in the
was,
See you
first.
next
Sorry, go ahead, Joe. I'll say later.
as I was saying, Cloud actually doesn't look as sick or thin as he did in like the first.
True.
few
I guess
trailers
I
and
was
whatnot.
concentrated too much on the face.
Wait,
So
that's
I'll-
it?
Yeah, that's
Well,
it.
it is 10 minutes.
Yeah,
They told
sorry,
us
Marco.
it was
we
only going to be
didn't.
10 minutes.
Remember,
Well,
guys, Red LC
for
didn't
the
know
audience,
about this
yeah, Marco
until we
didn't
told
know.
him about it.
Well, remember, they even said at the beginning they were going to keep it short and sweet.
Like I said, also in around the first time the presentation was made, I also dig the fact that the Buster Sword actually is like it looks more like the original one instead of having that weird angelic design that they gave it in Crisis Core and Advent Children, that was so out of nowhere. So, but anyway, about this in general, who wants to start?
Can I go first?
Go ahead, Weaves.
Well, I mean, I think it was a definite improved first one, and I mean, and it certainly didn't feel 10 minutes.
Yeah, this was really
And
good actually.
what we got announced. I mean, Medieval looks good. The Monster Hunter world expansion, even though I'm not exactly a Monster Hunter fan, that looks all right. Momo the simulator looks fun. The biggest shock to me was honestly Disney's Predator, because
There were rumors of a Predator video game running around. I'm checking in the meantime. Continue, Weaves.
and again, other than that, the obvious room is the 7 remake. It was a bit disappointing that we didn't get a release date or anything, but the fact that it's only like a month away. So hell, I'm a Persona fan. I'm used to announcements.
Well, you're also
although
a
to give it
Rockstar
credit-
fan, so you should be used also to long waits.
Although to give it credit, they did show off. This trailer did show off some new stuff, i.e., some redesigned characters and how the battles are going to work.
I mean,
Right,
we kind of already knew about that from a previous trailer, but I see what you mean.
Yeah, and
All right,
unfortunately,
then.
I can't speak for the sound because I couldn't hear it because I was watching it from a TV. I didn't want the audio to bleed over. But overall, I think this was a much improved stream from last time.
All right, before the next says, I rectify. Apparently, there was no rumors of a Predator game being released, so this is technically new. Anyway, Chiro, I guess.
Sure. Surprised there wasn't any Nitro Field stuff, but we had that in the last one anyway. I thought the first one was fine, but I do get how the abundance of VR can turn some people off. Because most people don't care, it seems. Again, like I said, the Final Fantasy models look a little, well, specifically Cloud. He does look more understated than he did in the initial trailer, because he looked a little more like, we didn't really see his face, but like the hair and such looked a little more anime.
Oh, sorry, we did see his face in the second trailer.
Like now he looks more like he just came straight out of 15. So
well, that's the thing, Shiro. I remember Tetsuya Nomura is the character designer for both games, and at the same time, remember one of the primary reason why Sakaguchi picked Nomura to be the character designer for 7 originally back in 1987 was specifically because he thought his manga style would fit the aesthetic that would fit this game better. So
it was just a noticeable change.
If you remember the artworks, the original Final Fantasy 7 was clearly going for a Ghost in the Shell vibe with its aesthetics and everything. Nomura was a huge fan of that, and it was shown both in that and in the first Parasite Eve. But I'll mention this more when it comes to my thoughts. So continue, Shire.
Yeah, the only other thing I have to say is, again, that one simulator actually does seem like an actual unique take on the survival genre.
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think it's skewed to that flying squirrel?
It's gonna die, you know.
It's always like that. We always show
it only makes it cuter.
I mean,
Trico didn't die.
Yeah, I was about to mention Jova. To be fair, they didn't kill Trico when everybody was thinking
they did that horrible fake
but here's the thing.
Bastards.
yeah, but here's the thing. Trico was nice and big, and you could see him survive.
He was a dog. He was a flying dog.
Yeah, this little thing, though, it's either going to die or it's going to suffer.
I like the spider.
Maybe we're gonna do like in Rain World, and it transcends life itself. But that was trippy.
So is the spider gonna be a final boss or something like that?
No, more like intermediate boss or something. They do show the final boss for these kind of things. Anyway,
yeah,
you're
that's
done,
all I
Shiro?
really have to say. This was definitely an improvement considering the pacing and what they showed.
Okay, Marco.
I don't really have many thoughts about this. I didn't even see the first one, so I don't have any basis of comparison. So it looked okay.
On the first one with us.
Well, even better, just judge it on its own.
That's yeah. It's like I'm unfazed. Like the only thing that remotely interests me is the FF remake, and we didn't even saw much of that. So yeah. I think they don't have that hype building. I don't know, but maybe it's because I'm not that into PlayStation, so that might be it. I don't know. It was okay. It did. I think it did its job.
All right, Pedro.
I thought this was actually pretty good for a 10-minute short thing. They managed to show quite a bit of interesting things, I would argue. Like Dave said, that away thing that looks interesting, and like I said, I do like the way it's directed there. So yeah, that looks interesting. I'll be keeping my eye on that.
I'd recommend you to play just out of curiosity also Deadly Creatures if you can. It's on the Wii, so you can find it.
Sure. Aside from that, yeah, Medieval looks dope. Yeah, it looks pretty much exactly what the game that the original team would have made if they made it today. Pretty much, like the aesthetic is pretty much on point. The gameplay seems to be pretty much exactly like the first game. Obviously, they're probably gonna have better controls and stuff like that, but everything pretty much looks exactly like what you would want and expect from a Medieval PS4 remake. So definitely looking forward to that. And that way will come full circle now that Medieval 1 will finally have a Portuguese dub to go along with the second game's dub. So that's nice. The Monster Hunter looks great, even though I'm not into Monster Hunter. I haven't actually gotten around to trying that yet. But yeah, from what I've seen in here, it looks pretty good. So cool for that. What else did they show? Oh, that indie game. Yeah, it looks fine. I mean, there's nothing particularly wrong that I can pick at it. And the Final Fantasy VII remake looks fantastic, I would argue. It's clearly still using the versus battle system. which makes sense. 'Cause it's about, like I've said, it was pretty clear in the 2015 trailer that Nomura basically took his versus code and applied it to this game for a smooth transition, and it seems like it still applies from what I'm seeing here. So yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm very impressed with the visual fidelity. Obviously, it's Square, so that's to be expected. But it looks quite impressive, quite more impressive than the offensive. Maybe it's because they're using Unreal Engine 4. That's probably the main reason.
It's easier to work with. Remember, Pedro, any graphical major problems of 15 was because the Luminous engine was hard to work with.
Yeah, no more.
I honestly believe if 15 was done with the Unreal Engine, it wouldn't really have that many problems.
Yeah, no more did the wise choice in fucking over the system and go to Unreal Engine 4.
Whatever's decision that was.
Well, I think it would. I think it's clearly it's turning out fine because the game looks gorgeous.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So. Okay. Well, switching between graphics engines. Granted, I'm by no means a specialist, but it's not the most impossible thing to do or anything like that. But anyway, yeah, it looks pretty great. And while you guys were having your final thoughts, I was re-listening with the trailer on my own. So I could.
I'm actually curious. Could you catch that? Who voiced Arif?
I can't recognize the voice. But
Arif, unfortunately, they changed their voice actress a lot of times.
True. But the voice in this remake sounds pretty much exactly like you'd expect her to sound like. So as long as it's not Mina Suvari, I'm fine. You can bring back Mandy Moore even if you want, because I thought Mandy Moore was pretty good as Kingdom Hearts 1 Arif. But like, as long as it's not Mina Suvari, aka the Kingdom Hearts 2 Arif, I'll be fine. Because Mina Suvari sucks balls as Arif. Yeah. And Steve Burton seems to be doing really well. In his deliveries it seems like after all these years of playing the character, he really got very used and good at the role, because his delivery in this trailer sounds like is probably his best that I've heard his delivery since he started. So yeah, all those years of training paid off, I guess. So cool. Aside from that, yeah, the game looks fantastic, and I'm definitely hyped to see the Square E3 conference to see more, because this definitely looks it looks fantastic, I would argue. The game, I mean. As for the presentation itself, yeah, this was pretty good. This was basically what the first one should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a pretty good one. For a 10-minute stream, they managed to showcase quite a good number of good stuff. So I'm definitely satisfied with this one. This one gets a thumbs up from me.
Pedro approves.
Yes, Pedro
Official seal of approval.
Pedro, well, I like to consider myself a guy who's balanced enough in terms of approval, in the sense that I'm not too easy to approve, but at the same time, I'm not too hard to please. I like to try to stay balanced in that regard, you know. So
that is what most game critics strive for.
So you're the fan of
that's what most video games critics strive. That's news to me. But anyway.
That's reference to the Sega, so the PDCDI Zelda games.
Pedro,
Whatever.
you're confusing critics with journalists.
But anyway, let me go next at this point. Pretty much what Pedro said. Everything of this was perfectly fine. Monster Hunter looks fine, and again, full expansion DLC, which looks massive, and I'm sure it will please the fans of it. I'll probably give it a try to World at some point, I suppose, but I need to get back to God Eater 2, so I'm severely behind with the monster hunting genre in general. That pixel indie game, yeah, looks fine enough. I'm guessing it will gain its audience, even with the guest skins for the characters. The Predator game, well, it's just a tease. We don't really know what it's about, like how we will game gameplay-wise. But if it's like the Friday the 13th game, for example, I can see it working just fine. Away, that Square Flying Squirrel game also looks neat. Like I said, very reminiscent of Deadly Creatures. Medieval obviously looks dope. Like I said, it looks similar to the two Activision trilogy, so they went for that aesthetic, sort of, combine that with the game's native art style, and it looks really good. Props also to Other Ocean Software, which up until this point did not have a good, resume up until this point. So
Yeah,
I want
reminder that shortly before this game, they made Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist, which is my personal favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Game, so props to them.
Well, in the past, they were famous for doing stuff like the Mortal Kombat trilogy on the PS3, and apparently, yeah, that's not good. But if this is the very
Was that more like Code Mystics who did that?
it's our Ocean. You can check in the meantime. But if this is their gateway game, the one that pulls them on the table, and they decide it's good for them to keep doing these things, be my guest. Because so far this looks good. The only thing I noticed, but I noticed also in the first trailer, there may be some frame rate drops, but I'm guessing it's just the alpha state, still beta in this case that we're in. And I got this close in calling out the release date. It was like this close. But still, October release is pretty good for the spooks, so it's pretty good themed.
There's going to be so many people unboxing and playing that on Halloween.
Wonder if they're going to be, even for charity purposes like that. Wonder if they're going to be like a bundle with a PS4 with the Sir Daniel's face on it.
Probably.
But anyway, obviously the big meat and potato, also the Final Fantasy VII remake. I mentioned this in Shiro's Final Thoughts. The original game had this aesthetic, the cyberpunk anime aesthetics, similar to Ghost in the Shell. If you look at Tetsuya Nomura's artwork, it's killing going for that direction. The reason the major rest of the compilation really wouldn't stand out to me, obviously, was instead for Square Enix's decision of making the characters looking more quote-unquote realistic, with more defined features, closed eyes. The Tifa's press size is a completely different topic, so I don't want to discuss it here. But in general, the appearance of the characters and their facial structure, even Cloud's hair at some point, this feels like a good balance between the two. I wasn't thinking of them doing one-to-one. The CDNT managed to have a Cloud design that is HD, flat out 3D model HD, but similar to the original model artwork, and complete with the banana hair. This instead is more akin, like a compromise between the Advent Children or Crisis Core style and the original one, and it looks fine, honestly. I can dig that. Judging from what we've seen from the trailer, we know that the devs had arrived at least at the point where Tifa, Cloud, and Aerie fight the sewer boss, because that's the point, the most powerful point in the time where we got. The scene with Sephiroth is clearly around the sector, the first sector where they blow up. No, the second sector will blow up where Cloud has that PTSD moment. I'm guessing they're expanding on that. Considering also the other cutscene, it's pretty much here that we're expanding on the initial material, but like they said they would. So I'm pretty guessing this is still likely going to be in an episodic nature or anything, but that's what E3 is for, and Heroes Open Square will tell more on that. So, but anyway, as a whole, this, like Pedro mentioned, for a 10-minute presentation, this is pretty good, honestly. The first one, the first state of play was okay with me, but this one honestly feels like they know what they're doing. For 10 minutes, they knew how to pace things out. I don't mean like the lack of VR and anything. This is just fine, honestly. If this is the pace that they want to keep with the next state of plays, good for me. And here's hoping maybe we'll see another E3 or somewhere down the line anyway.
Well, hopefully now that if this the stream gets a good reception, which I'm assuming it will, especially considering the Final Fantasy VII Remake reveal, they're going to be able to compare the receptions to this one and the first one, so they're going to be able to see, okay, now we've experimented, we know what works and what doesn't, so we'll be able to try to find a good compromise moving forward.
I actually do have an idea, but I'll mention that in my final thoughts.
Which are right now, Joa, because I'm done.
Sweet. So yeah, I gotta say, despite this being way shorter than the first state of play, this was a massive improvement. I won't call this whole thing mind-blowing or anything, because a lot of this stuff we were either hoping for or saw coming, say for Away and that Pixel game.
Predator?
Oh yeah, Predator. But again, that was just a teaser at that. And it's nice that we're getting Predator. I'll get more to that later. But yeah, overall, this was a massive improvement. So, I'll say this though, man, Square just, I don't know whose idea it was, but somebody really likes teasing us whenever it comes to Final Fantasy VII. Like, holy cow, here they have, Here they have us thinking it was going to open it up, then our hopes were dashed. I mean, don't get me wrong, Monster Hunter World and its DLC are looking mighty fine still, but holy cow, they had us going there with that 7 stuff there. But yeah,
My
okay.
guess, Java, it was to make sure the Final Fantasy fans would stay tuned.
Well, besides Java, like I said, it was kind of foreshadowing. It was at the beginning and the trailer was at the end, so it makes sense.
So yeah, Monster Hunter World is looking pretty good, as with the DLC. Good on Capcom for that. Then after that came, oh yeah.
The pixel
Yeah,
stuff.
the pixel stuff. To anyone who enjoys that, more power to them. I guess to me, it's just like, oh, I feel like I've seen this kind of game loads of times. Indie, isometric view, big party basher, and Minecraft style. It's like, I won't say it looks bad. It's just, I probably won't pick that game up. It may just be personal preference. I just didn't really interest me. That said, though, it did add to the variety, and that's good, you know. The game was still, I'm sure the game will be good. It's just not my cup of tea. So after that came Away, which was okay. It looks quite interesting. You play as an innocent flying squirrel in pretty much real life. It's kind of like Unraveled, only even more realistic. Holy fuck, that spider was on steroids because it was bigger than the scorpion.
Well, remember, it's a perspective thingy, and you can get some pretty big spiders.
True, very true. I do wonder though what the story of that game is gonna be, or if there even really will be a narrative to it.
It's most likely gonna be like you said, Unravel. It's going to be a story mostly told through visuals and
Similar.
gameplay.
A game to compare these two is Rain World, like I said.
It actually doesn't look like that too big a game, ironically enough. It seems linear enough. I was almost surprised they didn't shadow drop it. Still though, that'll be neat when it comes out eventually. So yeah, there was that. Days of Play, the PS4 Slim looks okay, I guess. I mean, there's not really much point getting that when we all know the PS5 is coming.
Well, they said that it's not going to be released before the end of the fiscal year, which is basically next year's May. So,
Predator! Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure it'll be... Well, okay, I'm not sure about anything. It's just, you know, I can't really say much about that game when we just know that it exists.
The funniest thing to me was the fact that, it's still loud and proud proclaimed as a 20th Century Fox game, even though, yeah.
So, but let's talk about one of the things we actually came for today. Boy, oh boy, is that medieval remake looking fun. And don't worry, audience, we'll still cover the other versions since they're different enough. But this version looks to be actually a nice combination of what worked from the initial PSP remake with the original, with its own new freshness added in. So yeah, looks fun. I probably will pick that up. And then let's talk about the real star today. I mean, don't get me wrong, Medieval is fun and all, but man, have we been waiting for some news about this game with Final Fantasy VII the remake. Like,
I think more than 2.
To put this into perspective, the last show we got of this game was in 2015.
Yeah, at the end of it, at the Game Awards.
Yeah. Wait, was that the Game Awards? Or was
Actually,
that PlayStation?
No,
No,
that's PlayStation
that was
Experience.
PlayStation Experience.
My bad.
And I'll say this, Cloud looks so much better here than he did in that PlayStation Experience trailer.
Yeah,
Like, you know, okay. I really do hope that, you know, they can pay good homage to the original spirit of the game. That doesn't mean they have to copy it, but remember the nice, fun tone here and there. So far, though, the visuals are looking spot on here. Interesting how they didn't show Tifa even though we were against that
It's
sewer
an elephant
monster.
in the room, Java. They know that as soon as they show up, people will start talking about their breasts.
Okay. If they just have her regular sized breasts, that would be fine. It's I'm pretty sure nobody would, even the purists wouldn't mind them doing that.
Well, wasn't she
So-
supposed to have normal-sized breasts in the first place, but there was a whole...
Yeah, that was
I'm suspicious, Toriyama.
Like, when you look at the art, she looks very different.
It's mostly because of Toriyama's involvement, Shiroi. First of all, let me
Oh,
get
of course.
While Java continues his final thoughts, I'll search a picture for you. In the meantime, Shiori, probably what you were expecting. Look at that thumbnail. Except we changed it to be more manga-esque because it's closer to the original.
Yeah, that original look for Cloud back in 2015. That was people didn't really like that. They preferred his Smash 4 model, which honestly, yeah, it's funny how his model now looks like it's replicating a bit more of his Smash model while combining that with Prompto from Final Fantasy 15.
Like I said, his
Alright.
hair
And
more
upscaled to
deep.
PS4.
Remember, Java, the Smash model was basically more built up and upscaled from the classic Dissidia games on the PSP.
Of course.
Go on.
But yeah, again, the 7 remake, it looks good. Like, they actually managed to show us a nice amount despite the short running time of this state of play thing. Now, I'll say this right here. If they can basically make it so that, yes, while these things are shorter than directs, they're more common than directs, that could be a good payoff. Like, maybe like, say, every 2 months or so, they could have one of these, Whereas with directs, they aren't always as common. Now, I will say it was also a smart move on their part to let us know that this direct was going to be pretty short.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They even said at the beginning, short and sweet.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it. This was short and sweet. Again, it wasn't mind-blowing or amazing or anything, but I'll say this right now. This feels like what the first data play should have been like. Well, this actually feels like a better, proper testing of the waters here and there. Like, honestly, okay, if the contents of this data play had been included in the first data play, I would have actually enjoyed the first data play because this addressed a lot of the problems with the first data play. The pacing was better. The contents were, more something that you could get better variety with people from.
Even though it was shorter.
That's the irony.
Well, would you ever traded 5 more minutes, but those being dedicated to, like, say, VR stuff? That's the question.
Depends.
I mean, but yeah, again, Alright, well done, Sony. You have improved. But yeah, I am hoping that 7 remake does come out soon enough. And I'm really hoping that they do away with the stupid episodic thing. Everyone hated that the moment they heard it. And for good
Honestly,
reason.
Jova, considering the backlash to it and the fact that it took them this long to restructure the game, I'm not saying
they're going to do away with it.
They've probably done with it away at this point, most likely. I guess we'll have to wait until June to get more proper news.
Now here's just hoping that Nobuo Matsu writes up this game a good script.
Score, you
You-
mean?
I
you
mean,
mean
God,
Nojima?
Nojima.
Fortunately, Kitase is not involved, aside from being the producer, so it should be fine.
Basically, here's just something that they finally get rid of that stigma of making the Final Fantasy VII characters act like their compilation counterparts instead of the versions that we like.
I doubt that. Remember, aside from Advent Children, none of the compilation entries were written by Nojima. So, and this, from what we're seeing so far, seems like they're definitely sticking true to what the original game was anyway. So it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, true. I mean, again, it's funny. However, since...
Actually, Pedro, Crazy Score was written by Nojima as well.
Oh, it was?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
That explains a bit, actually. But yeah, this state of play. Better than the first one. And, okay, like I said, okay, I can take these things being short so long as they're common enough, to facilitate them being short.
Sure.
All
All right.
then.
I guess that's pretty much sums it up. So, well, since there are no major streams of companies up until this point, see you for E3, I guess.
Uh-huh.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.